Let's talk to Zia Yusuf right now, head of Doge at Reform UK. Zia, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Good to talk to you. I mean, this story is just a small portion of some of the scandal surrounding the migrant crisis right now in this country, which seems to go from bad to worse. We've got, you know, a story every day. I usually call it Migrant of the Day. Today there's an Algerian recidivist criminal who's committed all sorts of assault crimes. He's committed robberies, he's committed thefts. He's a persistent criminal. Says he can't be sent back to Algeria because he's a trans gay man and he will be made fun of. You know, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, these are all abominable stories. And sadly, Mike, I think we're all getting quite desensitized to them. Any one of these stories should be front page news, should be a source of great shame for the cronies that occupy the Palace of Westminster. And yet now we see these so many times. In fact, frankly, half the time, like people assume they're parody. I sometimes talk to friends. Have you heard about this one? I genuinely thought that was a joke.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought about the Kenyan convicted rapist, multiple convicted rapist who was not deported because a judge said he might have a tough time back in Kenya due to his alcoholism. People thought that was a joke.
Yeah.
But sadly, the joke currently is on the British people. They're the butt of the joke because we have awful politicians. I mean, that case you just exemplified, that was a deportation that should have happened in 2018. 2018, 7 years on, he remains on the shores. And remember, it was the Tories in power then. And look, you can blame judges all you want. I've got a strong view on this. You know, we can talk about activist judges, but I put blame squarely on the people who make the laws.
Yeah.
Because if you make the laws correctly, then even the most activist judge in the world, I mean, the law should be immune to even the most activist judge in the world, because in the end it would have to be appealed and it would get done. We have to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. How, you know, that still has not happened. One of the reasons is because half the so-called Conservative Party are Lib Dems that would never countenance it, so that's never going to happen under the Tories. Labour are in love with it. They love the idea of ceding sovereign territories, ceding sovereign judicial decision-making. They love all of that stuff. They love the idea of foreign courts telling us what to do, just exactly, you know, they were willing to basically take the words, a rubbish and largely pointless verdict from an international court in order to cede our territory, sovereign territory in Chagos, and lease it back for the cost of £30 billion. And ultimately, not only do we need to leave the ECHR, Mike, and we've done quite a lot of work on this now already, even that's not going to be enough, actually. We're going to need, the only reason a lot of these judges point to the ECHR is because it's the lowest hanging fruit, which they pluck to keep people here. There's also these international treaties, which a reform government will disapply specific provisions within those international treaties, like the 1951 Refugees Treaty, etc. You know, treaties that sound great, but frankly, from a totally bygone era. We have to disapply these under UK law so we can start deporting, frankly, not just the people, the foreign criminals languishing in our jails, or indeed because of a lack of prison space still wandering around terrorising people in this country, but frankly, everyone who is here illegally.
Exactly right, because we now learn that the small boat migrant crossings, which are not small anymore, let's face it, are happening pretty much every 5 minutes in this last week. There's been a record number coming. I think it's 2,000 in the last few days alone, 40,276 in total since the 4th of July last year, since Labour got in. It's going to hit 50,000. It's probably going to hit 60,000. It could well hit 70,000 by the time this year is over.
Our borders are being overrun on a daily basis, as those pictures on your screens exemplify. British culture is being overwhelmed. The rule of law is now a joke in this country. And, you know, just listening to your previous segment, Mike, isn't it a tragic encapsulation of the state of affairs of the United Kingdom that you have a 60-year-old who is desperately trying to leave what is now an active war zone, effectively, fleeing torrential missile attack from Iran, seeking help from His Majesty's Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and the Foreign Commonwealth Office official guidance, if I heard you correctly, was to say that, quote, no duty of care to that British citizen. And yet we seem to have, the British government seems to have an endless duty of care that shows no bounds of compassion, you know, whatever it takes for people who arrive on our shores illegally. They get put up, you know, they get free health checks, they get free taxis, they get put up at hotels for free. They get asked what sort of activities they'd like to enjoy. They have their TV licenses paid for them. So there is, I keep saying this, one of the reasons why the social contract in this country is hanging by a thread is not because British people are unwilling to make sacrifices, but because there is just a relentless prioritization of the rights and interests of foreign citizens over those of our own.
Yeah, surely they'll have to change their policy on this, because presumably they're assuming that their policy towards evacuating people from Israel was before these attacks started. Because surely you put a country like Israel into a special status, don't you? To say, you know, clearly there are reasons why we need to get people out of there, because it's a dangerous place for British citizens to be. I mean, I've got a tweet here that I can read you out, where it says basically there are people now all over the place in Cyprus. There are RAF planes in Cyprus that could evacuate people. They're only, you know, literally a hop, skip and a jump away. They could easily fly in, like the Americans are doing, on these C-17 planes, and fill them up with as many as 800 people at a time.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, knowing Nigel as I do, if Nigel was the Prime Minister, he would see to it that whoever our foreign minister is, those British citizens would be taken care of. He'd be leaving no stone unturned to ensure that the British state does everything it could to extract those people from, as you say, what is now an active war zone. Yeah.
The last time you and I spoke, Zia, you broke the news to us about trampoline lessons that were being given to illegal migrants and asylum seekers in Kent. What have you found out since then? How's it all going?
Well, I put something up on my social media yesterday. It was actually a report. Basically, it's a, quote, customer satisfaction survey of, and this stuff, sadly, I mean, if you don't laugh, you'd cry. So a wellness company had gone in and done a survey inside one of these migrant hotels where people are put up for free. Many of them were there illegally and came by boat. We know that because they've literally said that in the answers to the questions. And what they're being asked are questions like, well, we're launching a new wellness service. How would you like to hear about it? What sort of activities would you like? And some of the residents are complaining about the food, saying that they prefer rice to beans, to the traditional English food, for example, asking if they could be moved closer to their cousins. And then one of the takeaways was they're now going to get, and these are all adults, by the way, are now going to get taken for rugby sessions. And again, when was the last time you heard about any of this being given at the taxpayer expense to British servicemen and women who served our country bravely, or to the British homeless? So there's just this big problem at the moment where I actually think the more we do this Doge work and the more we dig, it's like peeling back layers of an onion. Go to the social contract. This is not what people who set their alarms in the evening and go to work in the morning expect their taxpayer money to be spent on.
No, it is absolutely staggering, isn't it? And I mean, I've been saying ever since that conversation that you and I had, this is a really rich seam. Nigel Farage was in here yesterday, and I said the same to him. You know, you guys are going to uncover so much waste in government, not just in local government, but in somehow the funding. I mean, there's a story this week saying that the organisers of the Notting Hill Carnival are trying to get central government to fund them because they fear that they haven't got enough money to keep it going. And you know which way that's going to go, because nobody in Labour government is going to go, oh, we better not fund the Notting Hill Carnival because otherwise we'll be accused of being racist. So, of course, there'll be more money going south, being handed to these organisations to do all of this stuff that nobody wants.
Absolutely. And so you're right, it is a rich seam. As I said, often when you look at these problems, look, procurement is a big one. That's where I think most of the money in government spending is being wasted. These big consulting firms, the Bain, McKinsey's, the big four accounting firms, they've taken £8.5 billion in contracts from the British government at national level over the last 5 years. All the while, the size of the civil service and cost of the civil service is ballooning. So it is a rich seam. It's going to take a lot of hard work to pull on it, but that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to expose what's happening to the British people, and to the degree reform has the power to make changes, for example, at local level, you better be darn sure we'll do that.
Yeah, well, look forward to it. Zia, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Zia Yusuf, the head of Doge at Reform UK.